Unfortunately, trends are a thing. New Jersey is no anomaly to that. The Devils are going to have to get really creative down the stretch based on the news that we received today. Welcome in to Devil's Digest. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. Look, I don't like bringing bad news, nor do I like the game Monopoly. Unfortunately, both things will relate to today's episode. There you have it. Dougie Hamilton is out for the remainder of the season, per General Manager Tom Fitzgerald. Full quote. It'll go into the second round. Again, I got to go back and do the math. There's a possibility. We're not planning on it. How's that? Tom Fitzgerald on the potential return in the playoffs for Dougie Hamilton. Well, to answer the first question, not good. How important is Dougie Hamilton to this Devils team? I don't have to say anything at all. New Jersey's front office said that 4 summers ago. You want 7 years? We like it. You want $63 million? No problem. A billionaire owns our team. There are certain teams that you don't want to be traded to. Go ahead, write them down. We'll make sure you don't play there. They were going to do everything possible to have the best offer on the table from any other NHL team for Dougie Hamilton. And that's what they did. They got Dougie Hamilton. 7 years, $63 million. And what does Dougie Hamilton turn into for the Devils? Well, he is their number one defenseman. Number one offensive defenseman, 74-point player, had 40 this year. But like I said, trends continue. Devils keep getting injured. Players are going to keep going down. Dougie Hamilton has finished 1 season in the 4 years he's been here. He's had a season-ending injury 3 out of the 4 years. Yeah, here's number 3. 40 points, 63 games. Regular season is over for Dougie Hamilton. Now, that's obviously a huge blow. And we wish Dougie Hamilton the best. We hope he gets better. But this is a huge blow for New Jersey going forward. We go ahead and we look at the Devils' defense right now. This is just basic minor statistics. Points-wise, they don't add a lot of offense. If there was a player the Devils could not lose on this defense, it was the player you signed to the 7-year, $63 million contract. He is by far, right now, as Luke Hughes is still developing, their best offensive defenseman. He's one of 2 other defensemen that has over 20 points. He is one of 2 defensemen that has 5+ goals. Luke Hughes scored his 6th goal yesterday. The Devils' defense does not add a ton of offense. There's not a ton of offense from the Devils' defense. They don't help out the forward group in terms of creating offense, scoring goals. I keep going on. But when you look at the type of impact Dougie Hamilton had for this Devils team, it's just not replaceable. Now, has he had a little bit more of a down year this year? Maybe the goals aren't there, the assists aren't there. That's a fair thing to say. But when you look at the rest of the surrounding defense, Dougie Hamilton's by far their best offensive defenseman. And you look at the rest of the defense, there's just really not another one outside of Luke Hughes who's still developing. I mean, go ahead and look at the lines of what they look like right now. Luke Hughes, Brett Pesce, Brian Dumoulin, Johnathan Kovacevic, Brenden, Dillon, Dennis Cholowski round out the bottom. You look where you're going to get offense. You look Luke Hughes. He can create some. The rest, not a ton of offense coming from them. So that makes me ask the question, because you're in this situation where you have your number one defenseman hurt. You already weren't creating a lot of offense on defense. You're in a playoff race. You need a little bit more because your forward group's hurt. When you think about the Devils and you looked how the beginning of the season was going and who was producing and what was going on and how they were, effective from the defensive side. You might get a little bit more mistakes, but I think you really have to seriously consider calling up Seamus Casey and making him a regular for the rest of this season. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to have times where he's out of place. He's going to give the puck over. He's going to have to learn that at some point, one way or the other. We go back to 2018 when we had Will Butcher, young defenseman, made some mistakes. Was our best offensive defenseman that season. When I look at this Devils defense, there just is not enough offense. There's not enough offense to compete with some of these other teams that they're going to have to compete with down the stretch and in the playoffs. They need to find a way to have some upside on that defense in terms of offense. Because Dillon isn't going to turn into an offensive defenseman. Pesce, not going to turn into an offensive defenseman. I go through all of them. But right now, you got to find a way to create some more offense. Dougie Hamilton's gone. You already weren't creating enough offense. I really do think you got to go, Seamus Casey, go make some mistakes. Go learn what works. Go provide some offense for us. Because whether the team and Seamus Casey make mistakes, Seamus Casey will still provide offense. They'll be better in the transitional game. They'll have more opportunities. They'll have more options on the power play. Who's your second power play defenseman right now? Do you have a second power play defenseman right now? What if Luke Hughes goes down in the game and you're going on the power play? You're going to run 5-4 power play, 5-4 power play unit? You really have to think here. Who is the most similar to Dougie Hamilton with him going out? I'd have to go with, outside of Luke Hughes, because we're not going to take somebody on the roster, is Seamus Casey. Seamus Casey is the one who can add offense to this Devils team. And we've seen this Devils team struggle to score goals. They've been shut out 7 times this year. Actually, I think with Vegas, it was 8. So 8 times this year. If you have a defense where not most of them aren't great in the transitional game, in terms of talking offense, most of them not great in the transitional game. They don't put up a lot of points. They don't score a lot of goals. One of them has over 5 goals. When I look at that, and I look at what this offense has now with Jack Hughes hurt, you have to find a way to get another player in there who's a threat on the back end. And even at a young age, and maybe he's matured a little bit faster in this regard, that would be Seamus Casey. Seamus Casey would add the offense. Now, does Tom Fitzgerald and Sheldon Keefe make that decision? Do they be a little bit more of going for that upside? Well, when I think about it, I look back to the last game, or the last 2 games, I should say. Your best line was your third line. And you took Daniel Sprong out of the lineup. And what happened? Devils won the game 5-3. So they're willing to take these risks. And I said, it's not the time to experiment. But if you're going to experiment, you better be right more than you are wrong. And this is an experiment that I think if you put it together, your science teacher is going to give you at least an A. I don't see somewhere where you get an F. I don't think you're going to fail the class. I think you get at least an A on this project. Now you can't get the full A plus because he is going to make defensive mistakes. He's going to be out of position. But is a transitional game and the offense going to get a little bit less stress on them? Absolutely. We can see that he's a skilled offensive defenseman. We've seen that. I think you got to give him a go. I don't think he's played necessarily bad enough that when you have 2 defensemen out of the lineup, he's the one that comes out of the lineup. I don't see that he's played bad enough. So when I look at all those things, well, we need more offense from our defense. Our transitional game, which made us a very good team, isn't as good anymore. We have our top number 1 offensive defenseman out for the rest of the regular season. Where do we go? We need a second power play defenseman. I think would be pretty obvious that Seamus Casey would fit this role the best. Because nobody else is just going to start adding offense from this defense. That's just not their builds, not their playing style. You need that second player from the back end. And it's clear that Simone Nemec, top draft pick, is not yet ready for that role. Seamus Casey looked pretty good. 4 goals, 10 games. I mean, he'd already be third on the team in goals from defensemen. He's already one of the best point per game or point percentage per game for a defenseman on this team. I think you really have to go ahead and give Seamus Casey another look coming in the playoffs. Like I said, don't experiment too much, but I think you get an A on this assignment. I'll settle for an A-. I think it all works out. Let me know what you think in the comments if what you'd want to see with this news with Dougie Hamilton out for the rest of the regular season. Hopefully comes back playoffs. Tom Fitzgerald didn't sound super optimistic, but we just got to wait and see. Because if he can come back, it would be a big get for the Devils. So let me know what you think in the comments. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys real soon. All right, take care, guys.